Como está Las Vegas, and welcome to Face the Tribune. I'm sitting in today for the legendary host Rolando Larraz. He is off on other business today for the radio station, and I am here taking care of you. And again, if you have nothing to hide and you are a politician and you do not mind coming in and facing the Tribune, we would love to have you. What I'm going to talk about today is the Electoral College vote. And today, the electorals are voting today to make Donald Trump the President of the United States. The Democrats have changed their tone 3 or 4 different times. First, when they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win and that it was going to be an Electoral College landslide for the Democrats, they were all for the Electoral College. Then when they lost, they were for the popular vote. And now they're trying to influence the electors to not vote for Donald Trump as president. I think that's very unconstitutional, because weren't they reminding us that when Donald Trump was supposed to lose, that he accepted the results of the election because that's the way America works, and that's the way the Constitution and the Founding Fathers had that position, so that America's political system can run smoothly and be totally different from the monarchy and the kingdom that we left in England. But then when things didn't work out the way that they wanted, now they want to change the system back to the popular vote. What I try to tell people why that is such a absolute wrong thing to do is that you would give too many states, the most populous states, they would have the most power, and that would destroy our union, which is exactly why the Founding Fathers set it up so that each state have representatives, senators, and congressmen, and each state, based on its population, no matter how big or small, has a say-so as far as the Electoral College goes. And that's extremely important, that the United States keep its Electoral College system so that every state has a voice in the outcome of the presidential election. It is extremely important. Now the Democrats want to get rid of that system and go back to the popular vote because the election didn't come out in the way that they wanted it to. I think that's a travesty. Donald Trump won fair and square. And if you wanted to go by the popular vote, then that would be a totally different kind of campaign. You would have people that are campaigning. They would only campaign in the most popular states. In states like Iowa, states like Nevada, and states like Maine, Rhode Island, and some of the smaller states would never even see some of these people out campaigning. The people that were running for president of the United States would never go visit some of these states that have caucuses. They would never spend any time visiting these states. People would never see them. And so it was very brilliant that our Founding Fathers came up with the Electoral College, because it gives every single state the opportunity to be presented in Congress, in the House, and have an influence on the presidency of the United States race. So it is very important that we keep our Electoral College system. I think it would be a travesty, and I think it would set off some sort of a revolution if the electorals that have been put in that position, the Electoral College people that control our 270 electoral votes that is needed to be president of the United States, it would set off a revolution if they did not vote for Donald Trump to be in office. You can't tell people in the United States that your vote counts, that your vote matters, and you play by the rules and play by the system and vote in the person that you want to be president of the United States, which is Donald Trump. And then when things don't work out your way, you try and influence the election and influence the Electoral College turnout. So because your person lost, which is Hillary Clinton, which is exactly what the liberals are trying to do right now. They're trying to make it so the Electoral College does not matter. But when it was in their favor and they thought it was going to be an Electoral College landslide for Hillary Clinton, they were all in favor of the Electoral College. So it is very important that we keep the Electoral College. The Founding Fathers were intelligent enough to give every single state a say-so and an opportunity to vote in the President of the United States. Could you imagine if you just went with the popular vote and California and Texas and New York and Florida, how much more influence and power would those states have? Because just those 4 states alone are 30 or 40% of the popular vote. States like Montana, states like North and South Dakota would never see potential presidents ever come to those states and visit them or have any concern whatsoever in those states. So it is extremely important that we keep the Electoral College count just the way it is. I also want to talk to you about the administration and the appointees that Donald Trump is putting together. I think he's putting together an excellent cabinet. They're complaining that there are too many generals and billionaires. The more successful people are generals, and they show a tremendous amount of discipline. I think in each department, that tremendous amount of discipline will be very important because you need to be fiscally responsible when you are running a state department or government department. You need to be extremely, extremely fiscally responsible. And I believe generals who are used to leading people and used to being disciplined and used to being fiscally responsible because the Army or the Navy or whatever branch that they're in gives them a particular budget to run their administration within, and you have to keep it down to the dollar because there is no extra money coming in. So I believe being a general and then going into public work, going into private work, and having your own administration, your own cabinet in the Trump administration, I think is a very important thing that they are bringing generals in to do those jobs. I think it's extremely important. I also think it's extremely important that when you have these key department positions being filled, they're complaining about there being too many billionaires. Billionaires are usually CEOs of their company. They usually hire people. They usually have to set a budget. They're used to getting things done. They usually have connections with people all over the world. So it's extremely important, I believe, to have successful people in your cabinet. You're not going to hire poor people or unsuccessful people to run your cabinet. It's extremely important that you have people like that in your cabinet that are very successful. And I can't think when you want to have people that have been financially successful run positions in your cabinet. And like I said, he knows a lot of billionaires. He has a lot of friends that are billionaires. They are CEOs of some of the top companies in this country. And he has a lot of friends. He got a lot of support from military people, especially generals. Very at the beginning, when he decided to run for president of the United States, he had over 200 generals come out and support him. 3, 4, 5-star generals come out and support him when he first threw his hat into the campaign and said that he wanted to run for president. So Donald Trump, again, is the kind of person that remembers people that supported him from day one. And so I think it's extremely important that he stay faithful to people that were faithful to him from day one. And I think it's very important that he has successful people running his cabinet positions. So I'm very proud of him. I think he's going to make a wonderful president. I think it's extremely important that the American people give him a chance. He hasn't even taken office yet. And I think he's done a lot of wonderful things, like bringing Carrier back to the United States. And people talked about, well, he just saved between 700 and 900 jobs, and 1,000 jobs are still going to Mexico. I think that is a ridiculous argument. I think it doesn't make a difference if he saves 1 job. President Obama was going to allow all of the jobs to be shipped to Mexico. So even if you negotiate and give them tax incentives to save half of the jobs in the United States of America, that's going to be more people back to work in Indiana and Ohio. And trust me, the 700 to 900 families are going to have a much merrier Christmas because of what Donald Trump did. And he put his name on the line. He negotiated. He's going to give those people incentives. He's going to give those people tax breaks. And I think it's going to keep a lot of companies in the United States of America. I think that's very important. I think that states need to get on board right now. And I think they need to reach out to the Trump administration and see what it's going to take for them to keep their businesses, because it is a federal level, it is a governmental level. We are talking about the nation, but make no mistake about it. Each governor of every state, each mayor of every state, each alderman or of every county, of every state, each police chief, each fire chief, when it boils down to it, it's individual things that they need. It's individual grants that they need. It's individual tax relief that they need. These businesses need to get on board and reach out to the Trump administration and find out what it is that they need to do to qualify to get these grants, to get these tax reliefs, so they can keep their businesses and their companies in the states that they're in. Because when it all comes down to it, these people have to be reelected. These House members have to be reelected. These senators have to be reelected. These county commissioners have to be reelected. These mayors, governors, and so on and so forth have to be reelected. And they're reelected by the constituency in which they live. So it is very important that they bring businesses and they bring jobs back, because if they don't, it doesn't make a difference if we have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, Republican governors. They will be thrown out of office in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years if they continue down the same path as the socialist Barack Obama administration. So it is extremely important that those people jump on board. Carrier is one of them. I think Boeing needs to get on board. It's not that he doesn't want to use Boeing. It's not that they haven't always made Air Force Ones for the president. But he's looking at a possible way that he can cut costs and save the American taxpayers money, save his administration money. And that's the kind of thing that he's thinking about coming into the White House, is how he's going to save the United States government money. His book was The Art of the Deal, and he's always looking for a way to make a deal better for the United States government, better for himself. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is they're giving him a lot of heat about distancing himself from his businesses. I understand that, because you don't want a conflict of interest. You don't want to ever believe, I don't ever believe that he would put himself and his businesses first over the American people. I don't think that he's that kind of money. Donald Trump kind of strikes me as being a straight shooting individual, and I don't believe that he would put companies and businesses before the American people. I don't believe he would do that. But he doesn't even want to give the idea to the American people that there's a possibility that there's conflict of interest going around, because this man has businesses in over 30, 40 countries. So we're going to have to negotiate with the Secretary of State. Is going to have to negotiate Rex Tillerson with some of these countries. And you don't want to have holdings, stock shares and businesses in these other countries that you're sending the Secretary of State to, because it can look like a conflict of interest. It can look like you're taking donations vis-a-vis the Clinton Foundation. It can look as if you have a tremendous conflict of interest, and maybe you're putting yourself, your family, your business first before the American people. I know he has a team of lawyers working on the situation as we speak, and I think the Trump business is going to be in good hands with his 3 wonderful children. They are extremely intelligent. I think they do need to have security clearance, all 3 of them, because they're going to be at the White House. They're going to travel with their dad from time to time. They're going to have to keep him updated on businesses and other things. So it is very important, I think, that they have security clearance. I think that the business is going to get in good hands, and I think that the people need to allow him. He was a businessman. He's been a businessman his entire life. So it's just natural that now you're going to have to give him time. It's been 6 weeks since he was elected. You're going to have to give him time to get his business in order, as if any of us. No, we've never had a president that has ever been maybe as rich as he is, had as many businesses as he's had all over the world. But there have been presidents that have had smaller businesses, and you have to give them time to get their business in order, to let their families run it, or CEOs that they've hired run it. You've got to give them time. When we're talking about Donald Trump, you're talking about a lot of businesses. You're talking about businesses all over the world. And so he's got to be given time. And I'm sure he's working on it very hard to allow his family to take over the business so that he doesn't. And just the fact that he's thinking about that, just the fact that he is moving in that direction, lets you know the kind of person he is. He doesn't want the American people to have any doubt that he's putting the American people first, because I believe he is. It's very important. I think the Democratic Party is lost. I never believed that people was trying to persuade me that this country was turning liberal, that this country was turning Democrat, and that this country, the Republican Party, was in peril. I never believed that, because even when we had Barack Obama, we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. So at the local level, this country has always been very conservative. When you go out to different municipalities, when you go out to different counties, especially when you get outside the major metropolitan areas, this is a very conservative country. And I never believed that it really was a democratic country, and that's the way the country was leading. I think the Republican Party has always had wonderful candidates on the local level. But even with George W. Bush, I wasn't convinced really he was a national politician. I never really believed that. I think that Donald Trump tapped into something. We always had control of the House and the Senate. We always had wonderful local candidates, even like Paul Ryan. But we never had a national candidate. And I think that Donald Trump, I'm so glad that he won the Republican primaries. Because as I look at the rest of the Republican primaries, I don't think that there was one candidate that would have beat Hillary Clinton besides Donald Trump. Not one candidate. When you look at Senator Ted Cruz, I think he would have had a problem in the Rust Belt. Of course, he wouldn't have won the West Coast. I think he would have had a problem in the upper Northeast. I think she would have carried Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan. Ted Cruz would not have won those states at all. He couldn't even beat Donald Trump in the primaries. When you look at Marco Rubio, I think he was a totally flawed candidate. I don't think he would have had any shot whatsoever to beat Hillary Clinton in a national election, and so on and so forth. Jeb Bush, I think, was a weak, flawed candidate. He never got more than 8% of the vote in any state. I think he was a totally flawed candidate, and again, would have had no chance whatsoever to beat Hillary Clinton in a national race. So luckily, the American people, the Republican Party, was smart enough to vote Donald Trump in as the Republican Party winner in the primaries. The problem is that nobody thought that he was a national, he was possible to win the national election. And I always believed that I actually thought that he would do better in the national election than in the local election. I always had a problem that the Republican Party was so against him running for president that he would never make it out of the primaries, or he would never receive the Republican votes to become the leader of the Republican Party. I always thought that in some way that they would sabotage him and not allow him to become the representative for the Republican Party in the national race. I just didn't think that they were going to give it to him. I thought that some kind of way they were going to swindle and finagle away to give it to Ted Cruz or give it to John Kasich. They weren't going to. Once he got past that, I believe that Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate, but that it would take somebody that had the charisma, somebody that had the intelligence to take her on one-on-one debates. And I don't know about you. I thought that the first debate, both candidates were shaky. I think it was 50-50 at best. I think that she scored with her constituency. I think he scored with his constituency. And I think it was a tie. Of course, we needed more than a tie because the left-wing media and even the people that were asking the questions at the debates was so for Hillary Clinton. It was proven that CNN, Donna Brazile, gave her some of the questions. It was so pro-Hillary that the debate was already against him before they even stepped up on the podiums, that they were already pulling for Hillary Clinton to win. So we needed somebody with the intelligence, somebody that would do their homework, somebody with the spunk that could ask the hard questions, was not afraid to get dirty, was not afraid to hurt her feelings, because I do believe that they were playing the woman card. I think they were playing the racist card, and we needed someone that was not afraid to take her on and had thick skin. I think if any other representative of the Republican Party, from Paul Ryan to John Casey, I think they would have all bowed down to Hillary Clinton and tried not to hurt people's feelings and tried to not come off as a racist or as a womanist and go against Hillary Clinton and not come off as if, they're being too hard on the woman or being too hard or too racist. And I think that only Donald Trump can pull that off because he doesn't care what you think about it. And I think that that's what people liked about him so much. When he spoke out at some rallies and he talked directly to the African American community and said, this is what I want to do for you. And could it get any worse? Just give me a chance. I think that that took a lot of balls for him to do that because he didn't have to do that. He already knew he was going to get a low percentage of the African American vote. And he wasn't talking to an African American audience. He was talking to a white audience. So, he had nothing to gain by saying what he said. And he knew he was going to get backlash for saying what he said. Because no matter what he did, no matter how he reached out to minority communities, to women communities, no matter to gay and lesbian communities, no matter what he did, he knew that he was going to be criticized in his words by the liberal media, MSNBC, CNN, and so forth. We're going to turn his words around and make him look like a racist, make him look like a bigot, and make him look like he was against women, and make it look like he was, did you see they were talking about he was stalking her on the podium, that he was stalking her on the stage. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was a very small venue. The podiums were very close to one another, and both people were walking back and forth in front. They didn't say that she was stalking him when she walked right behind him on the podium while he was answering a question, or how many times did she interrupt him during that debate. And the people that were asking the questions, the moderators never interrupted her. But as soon as his 2 minutes were up and he tried to go over, they interrupted him. As soon as she was lying on him and he tried to interrupt her and state the facts correctly, they chastised him for interrupting her. They made him look like he was a misogynist, made him look like he was a racist, made him look like he was a bigot. And he already knew that he was going to have these things against him going into the debates. Anybody else, I think, would have crumbled under the lights, would have crumbled under the election power of the Democratic Party. But he did not. He has thick skin. He's used to dealing with people. He's used to being CEO. He's used to being a leader. And he is not afraid to stand up to people and say what he has to say, regardless of what they're going to say back to him. And so I'm so glad that he made it through the Republican primaries, because we were going to have another 4 years extended of the Obama administration if we didn't have the right national political figure to run against Hillary Clinton that was strong enough and unafraid enough to take on the powerful Clintons and the powerful Democratic Party and John Podesta and the rest of them, Donna Brazile, and defeat the Democratic Party. We were very fortunate that we wound up with a person like Donald Trump to head the Republican Party and win the Republican primaries, because I believe anybody else would have been a weaker person to go against, weaker candidate to go against Hillary Clinton. And I think right now we'd be looking at Hillary Clinton being inaugurated in just a few weeks. So Godspeed to Donald Trump, and thank him, because I believe he saved our entire country. I really do believe that. I want to talk about the minority community. I was so happy to see Jim Brown and Ray Lewis and even Kanye West. They're getting criticized for meeting with Donald Trump. I think that that's absolutely ridiculous. These are very successful people in themselves. Kanye West is a multi-millionaire. Ray Lewis is a very successful pro football player, retired a few years ago. He does Monday Night Football for ESPN. He's a very successful, very rich football player and businessman. And we all know the community activist that Jim Brown was. And they were being criticized for meeting Donald Trump at Trump Towers. I think success knows success. I think people see leaders know leaders when they see one. And I would encourage other leaders of the African, minus Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, don't go talk to them. But anybody else, Hispanic community, African American community, gay and lesbian community, I would ask you to reach out to Donald Trump, because he is a leader. And I believe he will be leader for the entire United States of America. not just middle class America, not just white America, not just rich America. I think that he will be the first president since Ronald Reagan, and I believe he has the potential to be a better president than Ronald Reagan, because I think that different times take for different people. And we are at a very serious crosshair right now in the United States of America. Our country, we are $20 trillion in debt. Unemployment is ridiculous. Don't believe those national figures, because that's not true. You all sitting at home that are unemployed know the unemployment rate, the real unemployment rate, is much higher than what they're telling you. We have almost 60 million people on food stamps in the United States of America. We need a president of unprecedented leadership to get us through this time right now. We are in peril. Our military has been forgotten. Our veterans have been forgotten. Our middle-class workers have been forgotten. Companies are fleeing the United States of America because of the high taxes and the high regulations. We need a president of unprecedented leadership right now, a real CEO, a person that has proven to be successful in his private life, in his professional life, to take over reins, to be president of the United States. We need a strong leader. And I believe that members of other communities that were against him, that voted for Hillary Clinton, I'm telling you right now, you're going to miss the boat, because this country is going to be reinvigorated. Donald Trump is going to be a great president for all of the people. And I think that you are missing the boat if you don't meet with him, because, again, I think he is a person that has a long memory. I think he remembers people that were not for him, and I think he remembers people that were for him. And I think now is the time, early on, to meet him, to talk to him. He is, I believe, a very forgiving person. And I think he's the type of person that if you have an idea, if there's something important to you in your community, and I'm talking directly to the African American, Hispanic communities across our country, I think that if it's about being successful, I think if it's about putting people back to work, I think if it's about community strengthening, I think if it's about communities having a relationship with law enforcement, I think he is all for meeting with you. And I believe that that's what Jim Brown and Ray Lewis and others have gone to Trump Towers to talk to him about, is about bringing these communities back together. I think it's extremely unfortunate what's going on in the inner cities across our country. Listen, I chastise all the time about the deplorable positions. I'm from the south side of Chicago, and I always talk about the deplorable positions in the inner cities. But listen, there are a lot of intelligent young people across our countries that live in those cities. It is untapped potential. We have so many leaders. Like him or not, Barack Obama was a community activist on the south side of Chicago. So that just goes to show you the kind of leader. That was as a young man in his 20s. So that just goes to show you there's so much untapped potential in the inner cities. There's so many doctors. There's so many lawyers. There's future presidents. There's future astronauts. Literally, I grew up, my mother was a teacher in the inner city for almost 25 years. And I'm telling you, that is one of the most untapped parts of our country, is getting to these young people in the inner city. Besides just being artists and athletes, we see the brilliance that comes out. I'm not a big fan of rap and some of these other genres of music, but I mean, some of these people are poets. And we have so many people, artists and musicians and so forth, to come out of the inner city. There's so much talent that is untapped. And I believe that Donald Trump is going to spend money in the inner cities. I think that this is your opportunity, being leaders of the inner cities, being mayor of these inner cities. Meet with him, swallow your pride, because right now, at this point, it doesn't make a difference your political affiliation. You have an opportunity to help your communities and help your neighborhoods. And so if you get a chance to meet with him, please go meet with him. Don't allow your neighborhoods, especially on the south side of Chicago, to continue to go down the path. If you are leaders in Baltimore, if you are leaders in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., New York, Memphis, New Orleans, L.A., Phoenix, so on and so forth, and your inner city communities that you live in, you're afraid to live in them yourself, you're moving out to the suburbs and taking your family and fleeing those communities, this is your opportunity to meet with Donald Trump, to meet with his administration, to meet with Dr. Ben Carson, and who's going to be head of HUD, and see what you can do to improve your communities so that we can bring technology back to those communities, that we can bring healthy eating back to those communities. You know, I remember coming up on the south side of Chicago, it astonished me when I started reading stories and hearing people talk about how it's so hard for them to just get fresh groceries in their neighborhoods. There are lots of liquor stores, there are lots of 7-Elevens, there are lots of cash checking places, but there's very few grocery stores in most of these inner city communities. And you see what Magic Johnson did when he reinvested in the inner city of LA. Black people drink coffee too. Hispanics drink coffee too. You see what he did with Starbucks. Black people are some of the most vigilant moviegoers, but they would have to travel way outside of their communities in Los Angeles to go to the movies. Urban Magic Johnson, reinvested in his communities in LA. And you see the tremendous success that he's had. He's been as successful as he was as a professional basketball player. He's even been more successful as a philanthropist and as a business person in the inner cities of LA, in the inner communities of LA. So you can take that model and you can go all over the country and you can reinvest in your community. These people have tremendous, Hispanic and Black communities have tremendous spending power, billions and billions and billions of dollars of spending power. And the communities aren't being reinvested in. And it was just amazing to me because growing up, we had numerous grocery stores in my neighborhood within walking distance. Those of you from Chicago, you're familiar with Jewel and Costco. And we had so many just in that little area on the south side where you could go and they had fresh groceries and vegetables and fruits and meat. And to find out a lot of those stores have closed down, and now all you have is these little mini marts, which mostly carry frozen foods, or you have a lot of fast food restaurants in these inner cities. And you're wondering why it's been an explosion of diabetes amongst young African American people and young Hispanic people. And they're eating so unhealthy, there's no opportunity for them to get fresh food. So right there, I think if you are the leaders of these inner city communities, if you're a community activist, if you are an alderman, if you are precinct ward captains, whatever, you have the opportunity to meet with this administration because I believe they will be open to ideas. I don't believe he was just giving lip service. I think I think Donald Trump knows about the untapped possibilities in these inner cities. And if he does anything to help these inner cities and turn them around, we might be looking at the minority community switching back to the Republican Party, which is what they used to vote 60, 70, 80 years ago. I know my grandfather and my great-grandparents, they affiliated. They weren't even allowed to vote back then, but they affiliated with the Republican Party, of course, because Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. And when they got the opportunity finally to vote, they always voted Republican. I grew up a conservative and voted Republican, my children as well. So I believe you can see a switch back to the Republican Party. But it is very important that if you are these community leaders, you can bring healthy foods and grocery stores back to the inner cities so that people don't have to drive an hour just to go grocery shopping. I think there's a tremendous possibility for growth in the inner cities. Charter schools need to be brought back to the inner cities. So many other things, there's just an untapped possibility if you want to invest in inner cities and spend money. And believe me, they will patron your business because African Americans and Hispanics drive way outside their community just to go grocery shopping, just to go to the movie theater, just to get a fresh cup of coffee. Put those businesses back in the inner city, like Urban Magic Johnson influenced a lot of those theaters and Starbucks and a lot of other businesses to move back into the inner city because there is a lot of money made. Just make it safe for people to patron those businesses, and trust me, they will go. It's very important. So there's just a tremendous opportunity for our country to be healed, to come together, to stop playing the race cards, to stop playing the gender cards. We need to stop that. We need to come together, and I believe that if the Electoral College votes for Donald Trump and gives him an opportunity to become our president, I think he will do a fantastic job. And we need to heal as a nation. We need to come together as a nation. And I think we will be very successful. With that, I want to thank you so much for listening today. Rolando LaRosse, the legendary Rolando LaRosse, will be back tomorrow. Thank you for listening to me today on Face the Tribune. Don't forget, we're on every single day from 12 to 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday. You can call in and talk to Rolando LaRosse or myself live on the air, 702-983-0711. And you can talk to us live on the air. And don't forget that you can watch The Conservative American with Chris Garcia. I am also on Monday through Friday, and I do a show. And again, you can call in at 702-983-0711 and discuss all kind of topics. We talk about all kind of things, not just politics. I like to hear what's going on in your local communities, in your local cities, and we give you an opportunity here to air your grievances and debate with us. Don't be afraid to come in and face the Tribune. God bless the United States of America. It is the greatest country on earth. God bless our troops all over the world. Please be safe and come back home to your family. You are always in our prayers. God bless the next president of the United States. Godspeed to him, Donald Trump. Electoral College, do the right thing. Chris Garcia, Rolando LaRosse, we will be watching you. Do the right thing. He's going to be a great president. Give him a chance. God bless you. See you tomorrow.